Hi friends! I bet you didn't expect to see me today. I wanted to try something different and have more fun with my videos and challenge myself. I'm not really good with showing myself on camera, but I'm trying, so let's see how this goes. And some of you might already know my face, but I bet there's some new subscribers who've never seen me before. And I know that because we're almost reaching 100 subscribers and I couldn't be more excited. So thank you to anyone who has recently subscribed to my channel. I see you, I appreciate you, and hope you will like what I have prepared for today. So I have here this week's project. Well, it is actually a gift for my boyfriend. There's no anniversary, no celebration of anything. I just felt the need to do something nice for him. And he really enjoys maps, like historical maps. So I combined what he likes with what I like and did something that would look good in our house and could be cute for the both of us. So I did, ta-da, this map, which is representative of our journey up to this point in our lives. Now, I was inspired to create this map because of seeing this TikTok, and I really enjoyed the idea of being able to create something fun from just randomly throwing grains of something on a piece of paper. So I went ahead with that and created something that is personal to me and that goes a bit beyond the concept that I've seen, because I didn't feel good just copying the idea as it was. So that's pretty much how this idea was born. So after you watch this video, make sure to let me know in the comments how do you like it, how do you think it turned out, and of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video as much as possible so others can find me. So now it's time for voiceover me. Hi again, it's voiceover me. So doing that video introduction was physically painful. I am really not used to being on camera, but I'll have to get there sometime. Now, let's talk about what I did. So, I started this project by taking some notes and doing some research and understanding what I'm gonna be putting on this map. So I wrote a possible legend for all the symbols that I might be using, and then I chose a few images that I was sure that I wanted to incorporate in the final project. Then I took some chickpeas, which are the only dried beans that I had, and not only threw them on the paper for a random shape, but also arranged them a bit by hand to the most convenient shape. I then, of course, lined around them, just like I saw in that TikTok video that I showed you, and then I started adding all the elements that I wanted to test out and see how they looked. So I added some paths, some rivers, some lakes. I added to each side of the map a sun and the moon. Of course, the sun to the east and the moon to the west. I also added a compass, which apparently I didn't film and I didn't show you. I tried adding some various wave patterns to test out which I liked best, and some creatures in the sea. I then added some mountains, tried shading them, I added some trees, and I was ready to move on. I was happy with that. I was now more acquainted to what I was supposed to do, so I moved on to this huge piece of canvas. I started by wetting the canvas, and so I could tint it with a yellow brownish shade because I wanted this map to look vintage, like it has been through a lot. So as I said, I made it all nice and wet, so I treated it like a watercolor paper. And as I said, I made it all nice and wet, and then I added paint. I started with a red-brown paint that I splattered all over, and I somewhat blended with a large fluffy brush. And then I sprinkled a more concentrated solution of the same paint, and as you can see, it spreads really nicely on the wet canvas and leaves these fuzzy edges around it, nothing too sharp, nothing too strong. So then while rinsing and wiping my brush on the rag, I actually got a really cool idea. What I thought was, hey, I could try blending with this rag. And I tried it, and I wasn't really happy with how it initially turned out because everything was too wet and there was too much paint lifted. But I persisted, so I added a bit more color, and I was wiping everything on my rag and also wetting my rag, so it had both pigment and water, so it wouldn't lift too much of what was already on the canvas. And I started smearing everything around. Of course, after the first layers were dry. What you didn't see here was me taking my hairdryer and drying everything and taping the canvas to the table. Then, as I said, I took the rag, which was wet and full with pigment, and I started dragging it all around the canvas until it got to the color that I wanted the canvas to have. So it got more brown, more dirty, more aged. And when thinking about things that would make the canvas dirty and look aged, I was thinking about myself and what would happen if something would stay too long near me. And that meant that I would put something on it or spill something on it. So instantly I thought about coffee stains. So I painted the bottom of some round containers. I made 3 roundish stains which were brown to simulate coffee, and a red one to look like a wine stain. Finally, I got to the point of me spreading around the chickpeas to create the desired shape of the map. This was a fun thing to do. I played with the beans. I felt like a child playing with my food, so that was exciting. After deciding on a shape and arranging the beans how I thought it was most appealing, I started tracing with a pencil around them and establishing the final map. Of course, I then had to gather all the beans and some went on the floor, but the rest will still be used, don't worry. So with a light brown micron pen, I started lining the map and going over the pencil lines as much as I could. Here and there, of course, I altered the shape to make it more interesting, and sometimes also the shape was altered because being on a canvas, which is not very smooth, my pen tended to skip quite a lot. But overall, it looked great. I really enjoyed the final shape of the map. I think it turned out super fun, and there was also a shape which surprised me and I didn't notice while I was doing it. You'll see which it was. So I skipped showing you how I did each and every part of this project, like the sketching, because this project took me somewhere between 15 to 20 hours, and I was definitely not gonna record that much, even though I did record around 4 or 5 hours of footage which I had to edit. Now, back to what I was doing. I started lining the sun and the moon and adding all the details to them. I then moved on to lining the legend sign. I tried to make everything as pretty and ornate as possible. So, of course, I added everywhere as many details as I could. A part that gave me a lot of trouble was the compass, and not only the compass but all around objects that I had to draw were very, very difficult. Now the compass overall turned okay because I added quite a few details to it to mask the fact that the circles are really, really crooked. So remember that shape that I was telling you about? Well, that's right besides the compass. It's that island in the shape of a question mark. After I traced everything around the beans and I moved them, I saw the question mark that was formed without the point underneath it, and I drew the point as an extra because I thought, hey, that would be so much fun to be an island of the unknown. So that's exactly what I did. Because things still looked a bit too plain and the map wasn't really visible, I decided to shade inside the land. So what I did is that I took pretty diluted brown color, which matched the rest of the canvas, and went around each and every contour of the map and drew it once again. Then blended it, and I had to do this for the whole thing. As you can see, it took quite a while, especially because I really struggled to stay within the lines, and that was difficult, but I think it turned out really, really nice in the end, and I think that the land really stands out. Now, mind you, I am voiceovering this video. Now, mind you, I am doing the voiceover on this video after I've edited most of it, so just watching everything come to life before my eyes is just so cool. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I do. I'm actually quite proud of what a good job I did with this shading. I think it looks great. Next step was then to add all the nice and small details. I try to add things that are only relevant to our life and our experience together. I added a lot of details on things that we did, things that we want to do, interesting events that formed our relationship in one way or another. And it's been actually quite a nostalgic project for me, just remembering a lot of the fun moments. Unfortunately, what I did not consider when I started this project is that drawing with a pen on a canvas is extremely difficult. Of course it is, it's not a smooth surface. But man, that was rough. I had to go over each thing again and again and again and again. It was really not fun. I think this was the only not fun part of the project. It wasn't awful, but it was not enjoyable. But thankfully it went over pretty fast. Took only 2 or 3 hours. So I guess it's fast compared to everything else. And I think it turned out good. So some of the things that I added, here you can see in the legend, are like important events, places we've traveled to, places where we've lived, passions, and all the cute and lovely stuff that one could have in their life. Of course, there are extra elements. Of course, there are extra elements all over the place, just with a decorative purpose. Now, after everything was written down in the respective place and color, I still looked at the map and it did not look completely finished. So I said, okay, let's try adding some shading around the islands to make it look like there is water. And I did just that, using the same technique that I used for shading the land. Now I did it on the other side of it, and with blue. And it did take quite a while as well, as I still had to follow the contour. but it looks so good in my opinion. It looks amazing. I am really happy with how it turned out. It really does remind me of an old vintage map and how they used to be colored. And I think that this blue with this kind of brown yellow color looks so good together. Makes me wish I had a bit more vintage items. Now, the next thing that I did, because it still did not look completely finished, and I felt that it needed more color, is that I started coloring in all the small details that I added to this map. So I gave a green color to all the vegetation and really worked it and made it look more 3D-ish. Then I shaded the mountains and I colored in the banners with the name of the lands because they looked too much part of the map, and since they're not part of it and they should look a bit different, so I did just that. Turned out pretty great. I was happy with how it looked. And the last final detail was to add the name of the map, of course, because we need to know what we're looking at. So I did just that and added another banner. As you can see, I was really struggling with this one. The position in which I was sitting was really not good. But I didn't want to remove the tape around the canvas just yet, so I didn't move it. I tried to move myself around the desk in such a way that I could actually do this and film it and show you. After lining this banner, I filled it in with a light color and shaded it with a reddish color, just to match the whole aesthetic of this map. Final steps. I removed the tape and I started coloring the sides. I did try with this red shade at the beginning. It didn't look great at first. It was a bit translucent and a bit too red compared to everything else, but eventually I managed to find the right shade and I added this paint to all the sides, and just like I did beforehand in the beginning. So I took my rag and blended everything in nice and smoothly so that the map would look cohesive. Now here is the final result. Our map to happiness. I don't have a frame for it yet, so it's still not hanging in our house, but as soon as I do, I will take a picture and post it on Patreon, so make sure to subscribe. I will share it with you there. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this, and of course, until next week, stay spooky.